Well, first of all, good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you about the journey that we're on at Toyota to reinvigorate our employee experience and really how it aligns to kind of my life purpose. So I will share that at the very end, how work and life is integrating for me through my work at Toyota. So before jumping into the presentation, let me just share a little bit about me. So a bit of a pictographic. I am living in Dallas, Texas. I am originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, and went to Emory University in Georgia for my undergrad and Fordham University in New York City for my master's. And these are pictures of the things that I care most about in life. So family, friends, food, and my travel and my furry animal, Winston, who is here. So let me put a caveat. He might decide to join the presentation when he wakes up from his nap. So putting that disclaimer out. So just a little bit about me and what grounds me. So let's jump in. Rapid changes in the world around us and really within Toyota are shaping who we are in the journey that we're on and that's ahead of us. Changes in society that we are all experiencing globally are threatening some basic needs for humanity, right? Our ability to move freely, whether that's physically, economically, socially, relationally, rising economic inequality, escalating social and political upheaval, impacting all of our opportunities and access, climate change, digitalization, the pandemic, of course, have threatened our safety, basic sustenance in some areas of the world of food, water, shelter. And then, of course, the labor market and the demographic shifts that are redefining personal growth, reshaping community, our sense of belonging, and for us, what people want from work. So constant disruption challenges our ability to gain clarity of purpose and contribution. And as human beings, we are, designed for connection and relationship. So in our world, in the HR world, the primary role of a leader in this new era is connecting people with purpose to drive results despite all of the uncertainty and the disruptions we're experiencing. So as the environment continues to change around us, our leaders are asking the question, how do we transform to meet our industry changes, which are enormous, now and in the future? We've actually not fully realized changes from digitalization, which was the last revolution, if you will, and we're now accelerating into Industry 5.0, which is really focused on personalization and humanization. And so as a business that's still trying to reap benefits from digitalization and the digital revolution, now we're grappling with, and how do we personalize and individualize that? Internal changes, external forces, all of them are challenging our current business model. We've increased complexity of work, uncertainty, the growth is exponential. I'm sure you all know and understand about the electrification, the changes in the automobile industry, becoming a mobility company. It's challenging our traditional ways of working. So we're working to become an ambidextrous organization. We are currently re-examining our core, reinforcing what should maintain, what we can strengthen, while also driving innovation to evolve in this new environment. And we found that the traditional leadership model that we've had since the Industrial Revolution, and we have in Toyota, has to change to meet the needs of this new environment, or we will not be as successful as we would like to be. At Toyota, we honor and are driven by our two foundational pillars: respect for people and continuous improvement, or Kaizen. Toyota's history is the DNA of our company was built on some key principles that put people in the center of everything, like contributing to the overall good, service to others. We treat employees as though they're family and make decisions about our team members or our employees as though they are our family. We serve with gratitude in the things that we do. So connecting to those roots, to those foundational pillars, can unlock some answers of what we need to meet Industry 5.0 and the needs of an uncertain and/or unfolding future. The operating model and experiences of the future really need to be built on the best foundational elements of our past. And as a Toyota leader, and in my role as steward of people, our history has really shaped three principles that I'm aligning our strategic human capital vision around: aligning our purpose, igniting passion, and serving people. And so I am directing my HR organization in our efforts around those three key principles. So if we take a step back and think about, we want to deliver a people or human-centered experience. We want to stand on our founders that built the entire Toyota business around some key principles. I needed to take a step back and understand, is our employee value proposition a competitive advantage? If so, great. If not, what do we do? Traditional employee value propositions are built on 5 principles: people, work, opportunity, rewards, and organization. We define our attributes around our team members or employees. They're designed to create a unique Toyota experience that meets the diverse needs of our team members across a number of different industries under the umbrella of Toyota. And for many years, decades even, this model ensured that we were the employer of choice. We weren't challenged to find quality talent. We would retain talent for decades. So our model worked, and it worked exceptionally well. However, as I just shared, and you all know, the world has changed. And the disruption and the crises and the rapid change in our industry are all putting pressure on this employee value proposition. And so I wanted to dig in to understand a little bit more about what exactly was being pressured, what is changing, and what do we do about it? I'm not the only person asking these questions. Our leaders are asking, is this a competitive advantage for us? Culture is the hallmark of Toyota, with perhaps lean or Toyota production system and Kaizen. But really, all of that builds the culture of Toyota. And if that is no longer resonating, what are we going to do? The reality is that, and sometimes this is a bit of a shock to some leaders, our employees are holistic people. They're not just Toyota team members. We don't just put on a Toyota red shirt. We don't just stand by our fantastic products and that's enough. Really, we all have a variety of roles, responsibilities, interests, hobbies that make up who we are. And we don't check those at the door when we go to work or when we log into our computer. So the question is, how do we create work-life integration, a harmony of home, work, life for our employees or team members so they show up as their full selves every day? We honor and respect that they are a total, full, whole person with all of these other interests. And then our culture helps to nurture that, respect that, and we provide opportunities and rewards that address all of the needs of the team member. So part of through benchmarking, through research, through great partners like Gartner, we were able to really dig in and question, well, you know what? The what components, the people, the work, the opportunities, the rewards, the organization, the more tangible transactional parts of the value proposition weren't the issue. They're great. We have some of the best benefits. We offer fantastic community programs. We have fantastic strategies around the places in which we operate and giving back to the community. People love it here once they get here. So all of those things were really strong. But what we found is that we need to redefine why those things are important in the context of this new environment and new world for our current team members so that we're able to keep them, retain them, but also to attract the future members that we need to drive our business forward. So it's really about focusing on how our team members feel about the experience that they're having, not so much the what that we are delivering. So we thought, my team and I, beyond the programs and optimizing processes, bringing in technology, which are a lot of the kind of idea du jour that you do in an HR organization, we realized that we are relying on transformational leaders or leadership to support the employee experience. Leaders create the day-to-day environment for their teams. So to impact the real change, to ensure that what we say we want and what our team members are experiencing are the same thing, are congruent, we need our leaders to buy in, to be skilled, and to drive that change. Of course, HR plays a critical role in building our future-ready workforce, and we need to think differently about what we do within the HR organization, as well as supporting the company as we evolve to a mobility company. So within HR, we're specifically focused, and I'm focusing the team on how does HR play a role in the transformation, integrating our people strategy into the future business based on the 3 principles that I shared before: the purpose, the passion, and serving our people. So I'll share 3 specific priorities that we're working on in HR at Toyota to help drive new experiences for our teams. The first is about creating a structure that enables transformation through an optimized business model. I'll specifically talk about an initiative that we're leading that supports that. The second initiative is really around the concept of transformational leadership development. So designing programs to give leaders, whether they're first-time leaders or seasoned executives, giving them the tools, equipping them to help to transform the organization. And then the third is around creating organizational and individual growth through internal gig work. So the first is really around a foundational architecture to help our structure, or catalyst for change of our structure. By way of a bit of history, we came together in 2017 in Plano, Texas, so here in Texas, as a new, in air quotes, entity, One Toyota. And that was really designed to integrate sales and marketing, financial services, research and development, manufacturing, and some of our corporate offices in New York, all into one location. But it was really around shifting the mindset. So from disparate affiliates to a One Toyota entity. So to do that, we began harmonizing policies, processes, talent management philosophies, and got to a pretty decent place where we were now operating, sounding, looking, feeling like the same organization. But now we're shifting again into a mobility company, and we found it's necessary to reimagine our foundational job architecture to realize a mobility workforce. So shifts in technology, we're increasing our capabilities as a software organization. We've got connected products and services. That requires a different skill set, different motivations, different ways of aligning from a structural standpoint than what we've had previously. So we're embarking on a pretty large effort to re-architect that entire program for, or entire foundation for Toyota. There are two key elements: the architecture, and then a market pricing approach and tool to help us remain competitive so that we can price based on the job and not a broad grouping. For us, the key outcomes are really about creating uniformity in definition of roles and levels, capturing hierarchies, creating opportunities for career journey and succession. But at the end of the day, it's a catalyst for change for the rest of the organization, for the work that we need to do. So whether that's creating technical career paths and general career paths, increasing span of control for leaders, reducing complexity, or reducing labor costs, all of those are great outcomes. Job architecture is just one of many things that will help catalyze that change for us. The second initiative that we're focused on is really around the leadership development and talent. So we are equipping and enabling leaders at every level with skills to handle all the things of becoming an ambidextrous organization. So I'll share a little bit on the left. We launched a new program called Mobilizing New Leaders. It provides foundational skills in a cohort format with participants from around the company. So taking advantage of our new digital platforms and the ability to work remotely. Well, we are now learning remotely and exponentially able to reach more people than we would in our traditional classroom style settings. Mobilizing New Leaders has been a rousing success. You can see some of the statistics. Just in about 9 or 10 months, we've taken 355 new people leaders. So these are, think of the 2 years of the pandemic, 2.5 years of the pandemic. We promoted people and they had no skills, they had no training. They had whatever content we had available on our website, our internal site. So we've gone back to take all those folks through Mobilizing New Leaders, and as we promote new people, we're getting them into cohorts. We have a long waiting list of people that we're trying to get through. So about 1,000 new leaders that we are trying to get through probably in the next 6 months. And the statistics are great in terms of the feedback from both the participants and also the managers of those participants, that they are more equipped. They feel that they've created not only basic foundational learning from everything from the Toyota way to basic supervision to crucial conversations, but they've created now a network of leaders that they are connected to across the organization that they would not otherwise have connection to. The other program we launched last year is really focused on executive development. And it is what I would say, bespoke or very curated experience. And we call it Pathways to Possibilities. We partnered with Deloitte to help us pull this all together. And it is an immersive experience that is personalized for the leaders that go through this journey, essentially. And it's designed to include components of servant leadership, focusing them on their priorities. So coming out with an articulated priority list, evaluating and activating their team. So they go through an assessment of each person on their team and what they may need and how to leverage them to achieve the priorities. And then building effective networks and relationships, both above, across, and down. And they also have that individualized experience, but then have an opportunity for a cohort experience as well. So this has been a great success. And what we found is being able to take the learning and really customize it to that leader's business, to the charge that they have ahead of them. We've been able to see some acceleration in their ability to deliver, to address team members. So whether it's high-performing team members that need some coaching, or team members who maybe need to move to a different part of the organization to better match their skills. So we are seeing a rapid acceleration of the proficiency of the executives that have gone through this program. And the last action, and there are many more, but the last one that I'll share is called, we call it Talent Marketplace. So we leverage Workday as our human capital management system at Toyota. And Workday has a module that allows for internal gig work. And so we thought, we're trying to solve some very real problems. So first, a ton of research on future of work, which highlights that work is fluid. We are proponents in our technology organizations of using Agile. I'm actually bringing Agile methodologies into how we do HR service delivery. And so we know that it's about delivering outcomes and less about this defined job. So we knew that that's kind of where the world was going and where work was moving. We also recognize that top companies are testing how to create internal recruitment and marketplaces to move people around more fluidly, rapidly, to deliver outcomes, to help development, et cetera. Internally to Toyota, we had some very specific problems that, frankly, for us were new. So our attrition spiked significantly. Historically, we would have voluntary attrition at 5% or below, which, frankly, from an HR organization HR standpoint is probably too low. But that was our reality. People never left. So when we started to spike, from 4.5% voluntary to, we actually surpassed 10%. We were up towards 11 or 12% attrition. That was very jarring for us. And of the team members leaving, many of them cited a lack of opportunity, career development in their exit interviews. The other thing we recognized is we were losing people at lower years of service and earlier on in their career. And these are the exact people that usually in the past, historically, would come and stay because they moved around so frequently. They learned so much about the business and they were excited for a long-term career at Toyota, which is aligned with our values. We want people to have a long partnership with us. So we thought, well, let's try this marketplace thing. We're hearing about gig work. We're hearing from our team that they want more opportunities. And we also had an enormous list of initiatives and work that needed to get done and didn't necessarily have visibility to skills within the organization. So, the good news is we did some proofs of concept. We got it off the ground. We launched some gigs. So we had about 30 gigs in the system across several departments. The bad news is it was difficult to get the gigs filled. For the few that went through the programs and have used the gig marketplace, really great feedback, right? The leaders were able to get a project or some work done. They met new people. They built some networks. The team members who experienced a gig were excited to have variety, skill building, all of those wonderful things. But the key point that I recognized and our team recognized is this is really a change management issue because it's a leadership issue. our leaders, while it sounds great in theory to allow talent to move, the practical reality of how do you manage it? How do I ensure the work is meaningful? Well, what does that mean if I loan someone out? The concept of my people and my work is a hurdle that we are still working to overcome. So we've not given up, but we are taking these learnings and recalibrating. How do we take the concept of movement of our talent and maybe continue to work in areas that are open to it and use that as a catalyst for the rest of the organization? So I shared 3 of many initiatives that we are doing in HR at Toyota to help support the transformation and really the realization of Toyota becoming a mobility company. But we're really focused at the end of the day on the experience that our employees or our team members go through. And our focus is putting them in the center of the design, thinking about how they feel about the experiences that we and their leaders are creating, and that they are getting not just from the quantitative value of an HR program, but as a total person and their experience as a Team Toyota individual. So in closing, before we shift to the next part of our presentation, I just want to share a little bit about my own personal experience. I was going through a leadership development program with Nakamura-san and the GLOBIS team and some global colleagues just last year. And during that program, I really thought about what my vision is for being a leader at Toyota, not an HR leader, but just a leader at Toyota. And so this is my vision, that I create a Toyota experience that can unlock the passion, creativity, and potential of our team members to drive their lives, Toyota, and society forward. And so the kind of tagline is inspired leadership that inspires our people. For me, this is very personal. I lead a purpose-driven life. I try to align my values to the choices that I make. Toyota I've been here 17 years and will retire from this company because the values match with my purpose and have given me opportunity. So in my role, purposeful leadership extends beyond just an HR hat. It's how do I inspire and mobilize a team? How am I serving the people in our organization and all those in the communities that we operate in? And then in my local community, how do I ensure that I am living and breathing the principles, my values, Toyota's values, and that is seen in everything that I do. At the end of the day, we want to define and have a culture where our team members feel that they can dream, do, and grow to their wildest dreams and extent possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kimberly-san, for sharing candidly about your Toyota story and also what you have gone through. Next, I'd like to move to maybe a 20-minute dialogue between Kimberly-san and myself. Our relationship is Kimberly-san was part of the Toyota Motor Corporation, Toyota Japan's global leadership program. I was the facilitator for that program. So we kind of went through a one-year program together. And as Kimberly-san explained, we asked all Toyota leaders, global leaders, to come up with his or her Toyota story. So Kimberly-san, if I may ask, how was the GLOBIS one-year training?
So it was more than a year. The pandemic put a bit of a wrench in some of our plans. The training was excellent. Of course, we would have preferred to have opportunities to be together more frequently than we were. We finally were able to be together one time in person. But the content was very rich. The combination of digging deep into Toyota, but also overall management leadership principles, hearing from different voices, whether they be internal or external to the company, was great. But above all, being able to interact with leaders from around the Toyota entities from around the globe. Because while we're global, we're really more a multinational company. So you primarily focus in your geography. So this was a great opportunity to hear about the challenges and opportunities in the other regions.
Thank you. The name of this seminar, kokorozashi, stands for personal mission. And this is the central pillar of GLOBIS's MBA education. Kimberly-san, creating your Toyota story is like creating your kokorozashi, like a personal kind of dream. Can you elaborate a little bit more how you came up with the Toyota story? What did you do on your end?
Sure. So I'll go back a little ways. Before even becoming a part of LDP, I went through a program with my church, and it was really digging deep into kind of just defining your purpose. And, through that, I recognized that it's important for me to have impact on relationships. So really cultivating opportunity for connection and relationship. That's kind of core to who I am over my life. It's been important. So as we were going through developing a My Toyota story, it started very functionally based. Like, what are the things and the initiatives that I need to do as an HR leader, blah, et cetera. And then it shifted to how do I personally want to do that? So who am I within the context of that? And then it really took more of a turn of, well, what's the higher purpose for doing the work that I do? You can, frankly, you could outsource HR. I don't need to be there. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. And we do, right? You outsource aspects of it. But really thinking about the transition that Toyota is making, and this is 100-year type shift that's happening in our industry. And so this is a critical moment to have a lasting impact on the future of this company around the things that are important to me, connection and relationship. And regardless of how fantastic our cars are and our products and the services through our financial services arm or our mobility products, at the end of the day, it's the human beings that show up day in and day out that make all of this happen. And if I could have a part of making them the star and a highlight of our business approach, of our operating model, of the culture, then that could be a lasting impact. So that for me became the driver behind my story, not divorced from the reality of we got to get stuff done. But how do I bring those two things together?
Thank you. It's great to hear that, it started from your church, going deep into your roots, and then, connecting with where Toyota needs to go, and, making a connection and kind of a, unfolding story. But when you propose the reinvigorating Toyota's employee value proposition and experience, weren't there any resistance from maybe, other HR people or from top management or maybe manufacturing or IT?
All of the above. IT actually is a catalyst. So IT is we are partnering with them on transforming technical talent. And so I had advocates there, and we actually already had an initiative underway. And one of the streams was employee value proposition. So I knew I had at least one person on my side. But absolutely, I got pushback from my own team who said, everything we're doing is great. You know, our talent acquisition team, they understood because they're on the front lines every day trying to convince people to come. So they knew we're doing great things, but it's not resonating. My benefits team was challenged a bit because we offer the best of the best. So for them, it was helping them see that it's not personalized in a way that people can consume it. For top leaders, especially our executive committee, they've all been here for a very long time. And they talk about Toyota in the past. We have to go back to what we were. We have to not lose what was. And so I'm trying to balance, yes, we want to bring the best part forward, but we also have to change because culture is an organism. It's living, it's breathing, it evolves, it changes, and we need to do the same. So it's a balance. I mean, we could joke about the whole hybrid. There's not a week that goes by that I don't get an email or a text or a call or an article. Oh, so-and-so is telling their people to come back to work, to come back to the office. I'm like, everybody is still working. like, let's pipe down. We don't have to go back to, I tell them I'm not coming in the office 5 days a week. So let's slow down. So that tension is there.
Thank you. When you started the new job architecture, that I think is also a big challenge because, you know, for maybe someone who worked 20 years at Toyota, you know, they are put into maybe a new structure and maybe the evaluation changes. How did you, you know, make this kind of a big change?
Well, we're still working on it. And to your point of, so we are in a very hierarchical, many job levels. So from entry level through analyst level, multiple layers of management, senior management, executive management. I mean, it's a lot. To add to that complexity, when I mentioned that we came together as one Toyota, we still have work to do to harmonize those various entities. So the general structure is the same, but there are nuances based on if you're manufacturing, finance, sales, and marketing. Where we want to go, our ultimate goal is really career pathing. What we recognized is that was too big of a leap. And so we are coming up with a 1.0, 1.5 combination that takes where we are today and moves us in the direction that we want to go. But we recognize we were getting a lot of feedback, pushback from our own teams. Leaders didn't really understand why we were doing it. So we recognize that really is change resistance, and we're probably pushing the organization further than they are willing to accept. So we're going to come up with an interim step to get us there.
Thank you. So it's like finding a good, maybe a direction, and appropriate maybe step, not too far, you know, maybe one step at a time.
Correct.
I see.
We would like to make a quantum leap, revolution, but we recognize this needs to be a more evolutionary approach. And so we will make some change, get some return. We won't realize the full return this first time, and that's okay.
You mentioned that you started the gig work system. And this is very interesting. Can you share with us what kind of work or task did you put on GigWorks, and how do maybe internal employees apply?
Absolutely. So I mentioned that we use Workday is our human capital management system. So within Workday, the technology allows for managers to post work, and they kind of tag what the skills are. Members, employees, team members can go into the system, so they'll get an alert that there's a new gig posted with these sorts of skills required. You can read a little description, and then you just kind of submit. I have these skills. I would, like to be considered. And then there's a functionality we built in where the manager has to sign off that their person has the time to do the work. So the gigs are not intended to be short-term projects or rotational assignments. It's really intended to be a short-term work. So the first gig we posted was between our what we call social innovation, but it was essentially our diversity and inclusion group. They had a team member who was retiring, and she was responsible for some of our most critical surveys. And we respond to a lot of surveys in the D&I space. And she had a ton of institutional knowledge that she was trying to transition, but they did not have a person who could submit some critical surveys for us. So they put in, I think it was maybe 20 hours of work total, what the job requirements were. And I actually had a person from my team in HR sign up to do the gig. So that was our very first gig. In our technology team, that's where it's actually been really successful. No surprise there. But they've put a lot of gigs in. So in our experiences group, so team member experiences group, they've had gigs for a couple of weeks to do user acceptance testing, to do product or to write user stories. So in the technology space, it's worked out really well. We also have I'll call it process improvement group, and they've put in gigs to have people come and work for short stints of time, 2-3 weeks, on process reengineering work. So if you want to gain or hone your Toyota Way skills, you can go and work and support the team. So it's been, when we get people to do it, it's very successful. The challenge is the hurdle of the team members want to do it. The current manager of that team member is hesitant because we have so much work. And so the tension of how are they going to find more time, or that means I have to redesign the work they were supposed to do to give them this opportunity. So that's where we're seeing the difficulty.
So if I understood you correctly, the team member who applies to the gig work, he or she still has his or her own work.
They do.
So addition to that, they would, apply to a maybe 2-week, 3-week project.
Yes.
I see.
Yes. And it's based on hours.
I see.
So the gig would say 2 hours a week for 4 weeks.
I see.
So most people will find a couple hours in their day or in their week if they get an opportunity to work on something meaningful or that they're interested in.
So it's kind of close to, 3M's 15% or Google's maybe 20% that you can try something outside of your main work.
That's right.
I see.
That's right. So the evolution, actually, I'll just share, Nakamura-san, I just had a conversation this evening with one of our most senior executives about creating a mechanism or framework for kind of taking gig work and expanding it, where we're able to take talent across the organization and move them to our highest priorities. and do that in a way that's more fluid than an actual, they have to find a job and we move them over. So I take that as a successful win, that they're hearing we need to change. And there's an openness that we've got to find a way to get people with skills to the work that needs to get done, but we can't use the traditional methods. It's too slow. It's not effective. And so that's the challenge for me now, is to design this mechanism to identify the talent, find a way to move them fluidly. But at least I've got some folks now on my side that are supporters.
Thank you. Within your batch, meaning the global executives who studied last year,
Yes.
I'm starting to see a new type of maybe Toyota leaders. You know, in the past, many of the Toyota leaders were very precise, very good at planning, but not so entrepreneurial, not so, you know, accepting failure. But your batch last year, I found that especially people like yourself in corporate or people in connected, they are willing to say, let's try this. You know, maybe there's a lot of objection, but at least we need to, you know, make a first step.
Yes.
Can we say that it's because of your program? You talked about mobilizing new leader program and
Yes.
pathways to possibility, that we are starting to see a new type of leaders at Toyota?
Yeah, I think certainly they're helping. I would say, in addition to that, is consistent language between enterprise strategy. So we've built, really for the first time ever a few years ago, a long range strategy. And we have language around that. And we are training our leaders, and we're integrating it into our competencies. We are aligning it to our compensation, our incentive pay, to performance management. And so we're starting to integrate that these are the capabilities. If you want to be successful, this is what you need to start demonstrating. And we're matching that with how we're measuring performance and how we're paying you as a result of that. So those are helping. What the programs are doing, especially mobilizing new leaders, it's starting everyone who's beginning on a same foundation, and it's forcing their leaders to support them. And we are working, right now the team's working on developing a kind of continuing ed version for seasoned or tenured people leaders. But we recognize a one and done doesn't work. You all know this. Like, learning is lifelong. You can't go to training and think you've done it. So so we're looking at how do we knit all of these things together so that we have inertia to move the culture forward.
I see. Kimbari-san, this is my last question before we open up to the floor. I believe because of your initiative today, we have lots of HR people in the audience. What would be your advice to HR leaders? Of course, depending on the industry, the direction they need to change might be different, but what do you advise?
Take care of yourself. HR is a grind, and the balance of the urgent, like, employee relations issues and crisis of the moment will always seem to take precedence over what's important and what you're trying to do as a steward of the human capital in your organization. That's our job. That's what I view the job of an HR person. We are just like a CFO is the steward of the finances. We're a steward of the people. And if you allow all your time to get sucked into the transactional, you're not doing your company a great service. So in order to do that, you've got to take care of yourself, right? Have time and balance for the things that bring you energy. I also think doing an assessment of the different hats that you wear in HR. So you are a strategist, you're a catalyst, you are a steward, of course, of policies, procedures, process, all of that, risk. And then you're an operator, because we got stuff that has to get done. People need to get paid, like systems need to be updated, all of that. But thinking about, where are you in your organization? What level are you in your organization? How much time should you spend in those 4 categories? And if you think about how much you want to work in a week, you take time off the top for your one-on-ones and kind of the basic keeping the lights on for your job. That is a really good guide and measure on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. Am I putting my energy in the right places? And if you're not, you can recalibrate and say, wait, maybe my team is off, or maybe we've not invested in systems. But taking the time to really do that assessment and monitor how that's going for you. And I just learned this myself. So I'm new in this role as a CHRO. It's only been 5 months, and little less than 5 months. And so it was so overwhelming, just drowning. I was doing my old job. I'm trying to learn this. There's stuff happening all the time. And so a few weeks ago, I got this kind of, these are the hats of your role, and think about how you're using your time. And that has changed my life. So that would be my advice. Think about where you're putting your energy, and then figure out what you need to do to shift that percentage based on what you need to get done at that time.